Chad has to drive over that the bridge, the Gila River Bridge on I-10 eastbound, and this is one you said is right by Riggs Road, right?
Yeah.
It's there by Wild Horse. So Chuck Rowe was telling us we got a backup that's like 4 miles long. You better figure out an extra 20 to 25 minutes. Chad said he feels like it's longer than that. He took the long way around. So he was able to find his way home last night, but it took him a little bit longer. Coming in, not so bad, though, right?
No, coming in, it was totally fine.
So are you planning when you leave here today? Are you planning on taking the long way back again?
I'm going to take a look and see. Because here's the thing. If it's really only 20, 25 minutes, well, then if it's an hour drive normally, it takes me an hour and 25. Last night took me, because everybody's going the other direction, those are also 2-lane highways.
Yeah.
Those are also, and they're stop signs.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's 6 1/2 dozen of the other.
Kind of a wash.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons when we see these backups, this is one of the things that worries me about the, not to derail the conversation too much here, but it worries me a bit about the EVs. My wife, for instance, had an appointment. I got the side eye from Chad.
The EVs.
The electric vehicles,
I
right?
know these things. I've heard of them.
Right. And I'm worried about it because have you ever been stuck in a traffic jam and you thought, how long could this last? And you're at 3 hours later and you're still there, right? So I mean, if I left the house thinking I'll be there and there's a charger at the place I'm going to, I got plenty here, and all of a sudden you end up with one of these things. Like I worry about those things.
It's an absolute worry. And
it's not like you can pull off, then go get a gas can and bring it back, right?
Hybrids, those are really good. But the EV thing I've always worried about because I look at this thing and I say, first of all, our grid's we're not ready for prime time. Secondly, the amount of issues. My nephew's got one, and my little brother, he loves it kind of, sort of. But he's also was like, it's limited in what you can do.
Yeah.
You have to plan stuff so far in advance to make sure that something's there. He goes, then you show up sometimes, and it's the only one for 50 miles. And guess what? There's 40 other people, and you have to wait an hour and a half to get charged.
Right.
So I do worry about that. I can see that.
So the infrastructure has to catch up. That's a big one. And I think things like AAA needs to be able to bring you a backup charge to get you the next 15 miles or something, right? I think there are a few things like that we have to worry about. But
China's got a car that's coming, unfortunately, that's really good.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait to hear your take on that either, because
you swap the batteries out. They're little batteries.
That's what Elon said we were supposed to be able to do with the Teslas, but I don't see anybody ever swapping the batteries out. So we argue so much over spending on other things, right? Whether it's social programs or public transit or this other stuff. And some would argue, well, public transit is part of infrastructure. I don't know, I suppose. But when I think of infrastructure, I think of water, sewer, roads.
The public transit, the thing we argue about the most is trains, because they're useless. Because since
totally useless.
They ruin like everybody's front of their stores for 6 years.
Yeah.
They never get done on time. They're always over budget, and nobody ever takes them.
Very little.
So
why are we so worried then about this other spending when really the primary function of our tax dollars, the two highest priorities should be safety and infrastructure, right? So why in the world, once we have a bridge that goes from good to fair, shouldn't that immediately be on a repair punch list?
100%. But politics. Everybody in the world agrees, right and left, a broken bridge is bad. This is the one thing, the infrastructure, where everybody can come together because they all like spending everybody's money. It brings jobs to their towns. Other spending is political. You can get mileage out of social safety nets, tax the rich. You can get mileage out of all of that other stuff. And you and I talked about it last night. That stuff is more important to people who want to be relevant than getting something done. We no longer care about policy. It's personality and conflict.
Yeah, so we've tapped into the narratives rather than the functions.
Yeah, so like, who doesn't? I've yet to find some Republican or Democrat that goes, I am pro hole in the bridge. Like, if we need more holes in the bridge, everybody realizes that that's a bad thing. We got to fix that. The thing is, though, when it comes to money for funding X, Y, and Z, a social program, any of those things that can be considered divisive if you play cards right, where you can raise money, that's what you're fighting over. Mm-hmm. Taxpayer money for abortion, taxpayer money for this, taxpayer money for that. I can fight over here. This is my narrative. Here's this. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to get my people riled up. You can't get your people riled up going, you guys are pro holding the bridge, right?
We just got a statement from the Blake Masters campaign. Their plan is to plug bridge holes with illegal immigrants. Well, that'd be very interesting. So what are they going to do? 2 birds, 1 stone, isn't it? How's that going to work? They're going to just lay there and we drive over them? I feel like that's not a good thing to do. We'll tell you a little bit more about what was said at the Congressional District 8 House.
I can't wait to see what Tread Frank said.
Republican primary. Yeah, wait for that. That'll be great. We'll give you a little bit of a recap of what went on last night. That is coming up here after 2:30. I did want to make mention of this. You talked about politics. Infrastructure you can get some mileage out of politics. No pun intended. No, you can get some mileage out of infrastructure. Yeah, no pun intended.
You can.
Joe Biden passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, right? So that was a $1.2 trillion bill. The usual suspects said, how dare you spend money? But let's face it, that was a bill that a lot of people didn't know why didn't Trump ever pass an infrastructure bill? Because there was bipartisan support on that.
Well,
and that's why Biden was able to get it through.
And if you're the president, everybody knows this. You get one big thing you can do, right?
You do.
Like taxes, border. You get one. And then after that, they throw your side out, and then you're stuck there being. So you get one thing. And everybody is pro this, and nobody ever wants to give the other side a win. We always know that.
Ever.
Because it's not about us. It's about party, themselves, personal, and then the people, what's ever left.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that he got the infrastructure deal done.
I do, too. Here's the thing. I would say this, though. Of that $1.2 trillion act, $110 billion was set aside for bridge and road repairs. $110 billion sounds like a lot of money until you divide that by 50 states, and now you're talking a little over $50 billion, a little over $2 billion a state.
Yeah.
And then you take a look at some of these different road projects, and you go, oh,
yeah, California, that won't build a bridge. Even build a bridge.
Right.
Where here, it may build a few.
Might build a few, but how many do we have that need to be repaired? I mean, again, we still have over 90 that
100, right? Let's say right around 100. Let's just do 100.
Let's say 100.
And we're going to get $2 billion.
Yeah.
How much are they going to allocate per bridge? Because you got to think that money's going to go for other things, not just bridges, some of the other stuff. So, I don't know. Even
this, for instance, the bridge that we're talking about, the 2-lane bridge that's supposed to be replaced with a 3-lane bridge, the I-10 bridge that we're discussing right now, that's a $50 million project just for that bridge. So you got $50 million, and you talk about 100 that need to be replaced. You're at $5 billion in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
And that's just to take a look at the poor ones.
And that's if you come in on time, on budget.
Good point.
Which is, you and I both know, if you've ever been anywhere in the free world, on time and on budget rarely happens.
It depends.
Especially with public money.
I agree with that. I agree, because it's a whole lot easier to go, man, we're halfway through this. And
you're not going to we only got part of the bridge. You're not going to have people just not go on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah. I mean, what, did you want me to not pay the union a living wage?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, of course. So, we just spent $5 billion just looking at the poor bridges. But remember, this one that's being replaced wasn't even rated as poor. So if we start taking a look at the bridges that are in fair condition, all of a sudden, we're tacking on another 3,000 bridges that are in fair condition. So the $2 billion that we get out of the Infrastructure Act for bridges, it barely scratch. I'm not saying it's not something.
But it
doesn't fix the problem.
No, it doesn't fix the problem.
We are still a long way from that. And I don't know how much more we want to spend as Arizona taxpayers. I mean, they are our bridges, right?
Well, isn't that part of the things is why we have the MVD and all these things? Is that money's supposed to go help with roads? But then sometimes you get into, well, this is a federal highway and this is such and such, but it is our stuff, right? We've got to figure out a way to do this. And this is the thing. This is the problem with modern politics is it's unfortunate. We all want stuff. We just don't want to pay for it.
Which is why I think you're seeing a lot of the poorly rated bridges are in rural areas, because as a politician knows, yeah, but if I give the money to the bridge in this high-profile area where there's TV crews, I'm going to get a lot more mileage out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, the people in a lot of these areas, they may not even travel that bridge and know it's bad.
No, of course they don't.
Because it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Until they fall in.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe, and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.